Hello, Toronto. I'm not going to stand here the entire time, you know that. A lecture, no. I could sit with you, but then no one would see us. But I am, I know how to take it off. No, I know how to take it off. Is this a microphone? No, but, hi. I'm thrilled to be here. This is not my first time in Toronto. In fact, it is my first time at such an event. Is it the sound of my voice, you think? But, you know, the first time, well, before I start to do all of that, you know, I have often said, and I continue to say, for those of you who are fans of Star Trek, that the power that exists in Star Trek is because of you. That without you, we would have never met, you see. So I take only gratitude from this exchange and take the opportunity to say thank you. Well, now, my first time in Toronto, I was with Robert Urich. Yeah. And we made two Spencer for Hire movies in Toronto. Yeah. In and about Toronto. Eh? And then, not in sequence, but this film, The Big Hit, was shot in Toronto. In and about Toronto. Eh? And then Hoop Life, a Showtime film, was filmed here in Toronto. And I directed one of those episodes. In fact, Sirach Lofton was in that series, if you recall. So yeah, I'm glad to be back in Toronto, in and about. Eh? So, we only have a very short time together. You know, what have I been doing? And people have been asking me that question, as I infrequently do these things, I suppose. I've done more in recent years than I have in the entire time, but I will say this, that I've been answering this question in the same way now for I don't know how long. What are you doing? Staying alive. It's really true. Not trying to be clever, you know, or profound. It's just that simple, staying alive. Sometimes an easier task, you know, from moment to moment, but waking up every day, that's what I want to do. And I also want to participate in the equation of life-saving and life-giving, you see? So the form doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where I am. What am I doing? Staying alive, like that. If you have a question, I'll answer it. If I can't, I won't. Eh? Please. We don't have a microphone out there, do we? Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just want to thank you. I just want to run through some of the
How long is the list? What is the complicated notion of terrorism? Is that the end of the question? Oh, I didn't think so.
As just as morally ambiguous as escaping the violence, carry out political change, just as war and as well. The example of Big George, the war resistance, the Cardassian protection, etc. Another one is the identity politics, and the sense that people can form a different identity. You have the photo or passion the The third is conflict with our heroes, whether they're political officials like Cisco, who walk by with principles in different times, and then we as a public have to be aware of it. So bringing the Romans into the war, or
What is your last question? Well, you know, I think you can make the case, you know, historically, with all that you talked about. I mean, you've really articulated it more than you've asked a question, which is a wonderful thing. Because in every, the answer lies in every question, whether it has a question mark at the end or not. But I think you can safely say that in the history of Star Trek, the fact that it has intended to ask hard questions about us, to ask harder questions about our future. You know, I mean, it's self-evident in its history, in the writing, and the reflection of political philosophy, etc. I think you can make the case about Deep Space Nine that it, unlike other of the series, was closer to us. And there were those who disagreed because it was like that it looked more like we look. You know, and the hard things and the harder things that we have to address. And I think, therefore, you say resonance, there again, it's self-evident because you're still talking about it. You see what I mean? And when did the show end? You see what I'm talking about? You're still talking about it. There's the resonance, and then I'm not trying to be facetious, there's the importance. There it is. You've answered your own question. The fact that we've raised issues that we cannot fix, the fact that we need to continue to raise issues to change the quality of life on the planet is exactly what you speak of, which is exactly what the writers intended to do, not for all time, but certainly in the universe of Star Trek. And I would assume as they go on, that's exactly what they're going to continue to do. You see? Yeah. But no. Yes? Oh, he asked for everybody, didn't he? He finished it all. It's all done now. Yes. Hi.
I understand that you're a professor.
Yes.
And I'm hoping, how active you are in that you take an active role in giving a course to students every semester, or a guest lecture, or
Right.
Tell us about that part of your life.
Well, you know, I came to Rutgers University in New Jersey in 1972. And I've been on the faculty ever since. I am a tenured professor in theater. I haven't been teaching full-time for some years, but I have done master classes, etc. They haven't fired me yet. Yeah, I'm on a payroll. You know, it sounds more glamorous than it really is, being on a payroll. But anyway, I mean, Rutgers is a fine university. I did both my BA. I did that in a year because I was at Oberlin College before in Ohio, and I had a theater company. And then past that point, and I was in the first MFA class, Master of Fine Arts class. And I've been on the faculty ever since. So, and I will say that part of being in the academy or being in the classroom is really the deal, because there's absolute freedom, because nobody's gonna ask you, to tell the truth because of money. Tell the truth because of money. I mean, nobody is gonna say cut in the classroom. That's what I mean. I close the door and I say, we're gonna talk about the truth, whatever that is. And nobody can stop that. You see, that's what I mean. Freedom to tell the truth. Yeah? Not somebody's version of it. Well, a lot of fans who are students, no. Because you have to leave all those labels and all that stuff on the other side of the threshold. And it's like going home. I go home, I'm Avery. Well, as soon as I leave the threshold of a studio, I'm Avery. You say cut, I'm Avery. See what I mean? Yeah, that's always. I couldn't go home if it were another way. If I'm not Dad. You see? Same thing in the classroom. You leave everything, all those labels behind with you, and I'll leave mine. And we'll just talk about the truth. A? Yes? It's so dark, I can't see your faces. Yes? No. Being in the episode and directing, no. I think there's much more clarity in it, because I understand what's going on in front of the camera. And then also the fact that my Master of Fine Arts degrees are in acting and directing, so that my foundation, allowed me to be conversant with everything that I had to do. So, no, not difficult. Because in any way, being in front of the camera is about getting out of the way. Or standing on the stage is about getting out of the way. I'm not worried. You know what I mean? Not worried at all. Yes? Thank you. I mean, that's an interesting question. In as much as they never asked me what I thought. In the beginning, from the time that I joined Star Trek, they never once asked me. No, not about theme. Absolutely not. I got the script, and then I said the lines. Well, I suppose they do get something, over time. I mean, the fact that we were able to spend that number of years together growing, and being fed. The writers are being fed by the work that they see, and to that extent. So I wasn't joking, but they never asked me about theme, So I don't know how I would approach that question, or let alone the answer. Pet project? Pet project. No. No? No, I don't have a pet project. Yes. The young man right behind.
Most of us know you from DS9.
Yes.
Most older people know you from Fan Expo.
Yes.
When you first came out from DS9, your hair, like goatee, just seemed fantastic. After the series, you shaved your head, and we all thought, oh. How did you escape the typecasting, and what was the decision that allowed you to shave your head and go back actually?
Okay. Well, I'm sure by now some of you have heard this story. It was written into my well, I'll tell you this way. When I first met the people, the creators, the producers of Star Trek, I looked like this, though much younger. And when I finally was asked to do it, there was a rider in my contract which said that the actor agrees to grow hair on his head and shave the hair off his face. I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially the rider. So it wasn't my decision. You know, unless I refused, it could have been a deal breaker, and then we would have never met. But, you know, it's okay, because it won't change who I am. You know what I mean? But as a matter of fact, I must tell you that then I'll go on. Then later on, some very wise person decided, oh, you know, he should shave his head again and grow the hair on his face. It wasn't my decision, but I said, okay, of course. Sometime in between there, and I'm jumping around in the story, one of the reasons given, not on paper, but one of the reasons given for this growing of hair and this shaving, you know, of the hair, facial hair, was because they wanted to make sure that there was no confusion between Jean-Luc Picard and his sister. You see? I'm not making it up. You know, typecasting, you know what? Typecasting is what? I mean, the least of it, well, we could go, that's a long conversation about typecasting. You know, who's beautiful? You see? Who's beautiful? Who's strong? Who's, huh? It's subjective, isn't it? Huh? Typecasting, well, that's a so-and-so, that's a villain, and that's a hero. Who decided that? It's arbitrary, isn't it? Let alone color. Or, you know what I mean? Or, eh? Yes, please. Yes. Well, racism in the business. I think the more accurate thing to do is to talk about racism in the world. You know, I mean, in its myriad manifestations. I think to talk about it in terms of color, and only color, is a huge mistake, because it's a very limited conversation. What is harder, a harder part of the conversation, is to talk about the superiority of one human being to another in the world. That's racism. You know what I mean? Those are the harder questions to answer. What we do know that in this part of the world, we are inextricably connected in our history, in the landscape of our history, to racism and sexism, you know, these things that we have to fix, that we are in the process of fixing. To talk about the industry in those terms, again, is very, very limited. I will say to you in this way, for example, that, you know, historically, the business so-called is a family business. That's where it began. And to some extent it remains so, you see? So if this is the money that my family earned, why should I not spend it any way I want? Even though it doesn't reflect what America looks like necessarily. But you see, the kind of analysis which would lead one to say, well, why doesn't this America look like mine? And the question can be answered very simply. When you earn, you work for this resource and the wherewithal, and then you show the America or the world that you want to see, rather than blaming people for the limited, way in which people of color and other genders, etc., have been excluded. But the exclusion is not necessarily because of racism. You know what I mean? That's too easy. And so I think it's important that, when we talk about the history, were it not for a whole lot of people, some of whose names I will never know, if there weren't for Paul Robeson, I wouldn't be standing here. You see? If it weren't for Brock Peters, I wouldn't be standing here. If it wasn't for Canada Lee, I wouldn't be standing here. If it weren't for Ossie Davis, I wouldn't be standing here. I could go on and on. So that there is that movement, but the limit of the conversation cannot be any longer just about color. Or every time somebody disagrees, well, why didn't you hire me? It's because you are a racist. That's too simple. That's too simple. And then there are lots and lots of things other than that we need to be focusing on. But as long as we keep pointing fingers at people, it ain't gonna work. We haven't fixed anything. Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah, right there. Okay.
Very well spoken. The Americans are usually very emotional, very well fleshed out. If you were to stop working today, what would you consider to be your masterwork and why?
I wouldn't. Because I never saw any of my work. See what I mean? I was there, but I didn't see it. The only thing that I can talk about, and I mean this in a very real way. When you direct, the people would say, well, do you want to go and look at the dailies or the rushes, as they're called sometimes? And oftentimes I say no, because I was there. You know what I mean? When I was shooting it, I knew exactly what I wanted to see. And so when I'm finally in the place of editing, and editing is still writing, I know exactly the choices that I wanted. You know what I mean? So I'm not removed from what I'm talking about. My life, as far as I know, I told someone this earlier, I look in the mirror once a day, and that's really to make sure I'm there, and I'm still here. You dig what I mean? So, my life ended in the next moment, that'll be that. Way over there? Yeah. Eh? What, I'm sorry, the last part? Fondest memory of the people, of course. The people. It's the people. It can't be anything else. It's the people. Huh? Is it the Needle? Is the CN Towers? No. Toronto Argonaut? No.
Definitely.
No. It's the people. For sure. Yes, please. Yeah, I just, the opportunity just hasn't presented itself, to work at Stratford or one of the other places. I certainly would welcome the opportunity, like that. I haven't been asked recently. That's okay. Yes, young man.
What is your favorite Shakespeare play and why?
My favorite Shakespeare play, I suppose the one I haven't done. I haven't done everything in the canon, so I can talk about I can talk about Lear. I did Lear, I did King Lear maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago at Yale Repertory. And one of the reasons that I did it was I wanted to be able to pick up Cordelia before I turned 80. There's a famous quote from, it might have been Olivier or Gielgud or somebody like that who said, yeah, you might as well try it now, at 55, rather than 80. So, the work is very, very challenging. I find Shakespeare, let me talk about it another way. The great writing knows no time, no epoch, no era, so that Shakespeare, among some of the great writers in all time, is the work that we all love to do. Sophocles, same thing. We did the Oedipus trilogy. That was in 2003 in Greece, as a matter of fact, at the foot of the Parthenon, in this 4,000-seat amphitheater, at night. But Sophocles, you see what I mean? What he's talking about, people are still talking about it. See, there's your question. There's the answer to your question. Because if it's hip, then people are still going to be talking about it. 10 years from now, 5,000 years from now. Yes, sir.
What's been your favorite convention experience or the most funny convention experience that you had?
My favorite convention experience, I am in it. The funniest? Well, the funniest. Can't think of the funniest, People are funny. We're funny. And if you've met me, in the brief time we have together at the table, we're probably gonna laugh about something. You laugh at me, I laugh at you. Funny. Yeah. It is funny. Yeah. It remains funny when somebody decides that they want to talk to you for about half an hour. And there are hundreds of people waiting. That's funny. But look, turn around. Look. Don't you see all these people? Right? I'd love to go on. But we can't. Anyway, way back there. I'd be interested, but they better hurry. When was the last year of Deep Space Nine? Huh? How many years ago? Dad, you can say it out loud. More than 10. They better hurry. This young man said yesterday, genuinely, he was looking at these pictures on the table, some from Spencer, some from, like that. He said, well, you look good for your age. No, it's cool. No, it's cool. It's all right. Huh? Because I'm actually 87. Yes. 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 Well, I mean, in terms of, I don't know that that's what they intended to do, you know, this diversity thing. Inasmuch, again, when the writer sat down to think, they didn't ask me to sit at the table. But what I can surmise is that, you know, from the very beginning, this idea of a world that didn't resemble ours was part of what they were talking about from the very beginning. I can only surmise that that has been a continuing thread in terms of evaluating how well it has done in answering questions of diversity at all. You have the answer because you are the one that, you know, approves ultimately. Yes? Okay. Sir? Right. I don't know about disagreeing. I mean, you know, they were open enough, and I wasn't trying to cast aspersions as much as telling you the truth. That, you know, from time to time, you know, if I had a question, they were open and listened to what questions I had, you know, about it. And then to some extent try to address or allay my fears or suspicions about what I thought was going on. So, I mean, they were very open. But the fact of the matter is, and other people can bear me out, you could not change a preposition without calling across the lot to have it approved. That's the truth. You see? Okay. I survived it. Yes?
Now that you've had a chance to reflect on making the show, what are your fondest memories?
What are my fondest memories of the show? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. As I look upon it now, some 10 years and counting, it was wonderful. My fondest memories meeting Ciroc Lofton, laughing with Colomini, being with a crew, you know, for 7 years that worked so hard. Far Beyond the Stars, The Emissary, and the last day of shooting. Yes? Well, I think, I mean, I thought about this early on when I was reading. I read the, you know, the script, the pilot script, The Emissary. And realizing then, once I was given the job, what we do know is this: wherever African people are on the planet, there is a relation to the divine, to the spiritual. So it made perfect sense to me that there would be a struggle, internal struggle, except, going to Earth, but an understanding, yet again, of what the Bajoran people and part of their cosmogony was and is. And the fact that they continue to develop it, I suppose at some point, Cisco made peace with that. And I'm using that in my own imagination, but certainly made peace with that in terms of his understanding of his own lineage in that way on Earth. I think that in the final analysis that the ambiguous question left with us well, I suppose that's the whole point, that it is ambiguous. So it's not finished, just to answer your question. You know what I mean? I don't know that they finished the idea. Sir? 5 in 5. Yes, sir. Yes? Oh, yeah, well, I got 2 questions happening. That's beautiful. Go on, keep going. No, Bo, you keep going too. Oh, no, it's here, Pete. I'm not kidding. Go ahead. No, keep going. You keep going. I'm not kidding. You see that?
I didn't hear that.
Oh, sing. In 5, but see, that's the whole point. I mean, you were asking the question, and I could hear both things at once. I'm not kidding. It's actually wonderful, isn't it? When we use more, or that we seem to be capable of using, isn't it? It's the truth. We can do more than one thing at the same time, let alone listening. That's what music is. If you think about, what happens in what is called jazz, or any ensemble in which you have to listen to everybody. You have to listen to what's going on. You know what I mean? You have to listen to what the drummer is doing and you see what I mean? Who has the melody now? You see what I mean? Where the tune is going? So I wasn't kidding. I could hear both things. And it sounded good, as a matter of fact. Just the rhythm of it. So I wasn't joking. And you see, because you were talking about this music in Columbus, Ohio, and you were talking about what is your favorite, Is that what you were asking, man? Did you finish your question? A favorite guest star? Oh no, Lord, I couldn't ever say that. You know what that would create? My favorite guest stars. You remember that Cisco went back in time? Huh? Yeah, well, he went back several times, didn't he? By the time there were these little bitty babies, right? In another time, in this parallel time. Those are my favorite guest stars, and they were twins, by the way. So that one got cranky, the other one, Yeah, they were twins. My favorite guest stars. The twins. It must be, hey, now. He said 5. Has it been 5 minutes since he said 5? Oh. But the other young man said, whose watch are we using? Well, figuratively. Go back in time. No, well, I don't know if I sang a spiritual or not. I don't think it was. But, you know, I could sing a spiritual. I do sing spirituals. But no. No. Wait a minute. You just got to give me 30 seconds. I'm not saying it's going to take me 30 seconds to come back. Just give me just a moment. Hold this till I come back, please. Thanks.
No.
Guy in the striped shirt.
Thank you. There is a quiet place far from the rapid pace where God can soothe my troubled mind. Sheltered by tree and flowers there, in my quiet hour, with him my cares are left behind. Within a garden small, or a mountain tall, new strength and courage I find. There, from this quiet place I go, prepared to face a new day, with love for all mankind, for